Hi y'all, this is Tate and Persephone. Welcome to episode 4 of the Absolute Ultimate Escapist podcast. Today is a bit of a novel episode just because Pearl's not here right now. She's currently...
in the gamer cube.
Yeah, she's currently testing a game. I think she's just like locked in a fucking hotel room for like a week. Doing gaming stuff. So we're just going to be talking about new stuff today. We don't have a ton of news for y'all from the comics world, but we are going to be talking about a bunch of monthlies that came in this week. Everything ranging from Adventure Time to the new Assorted Crisis Events to just classic DC and Marvel stuff. And yeah, I think let's just get into it. Persephone, what do you want to talk about first?
Oh god. You know what? I think I have the least amount to say about Absolute Green Lantern, so I think I'll jump on that first.
Go for it. I haven't read a single bit of Absolute Green Lantern, so...
Absolute Green Lantern's kind of shaken out to be one of my favorites of the line, mainly because kind of like, in that distinction that we laid out a couple episodes ago, it's the one doing something significantly different. It's broadly really weird. I still haven't quite got my head around, like, what each of the because they're not like the colors don't equal emotions anymore. They equal like levels of conscious action.
Like metaphysical concepts.
They're metaphysical concepts, and I'm like, Ewing, let's go. But this one is mainly just about because the end of last issue, or not the last issue, the issue before that, Joe Mullen like showed up on her ex-girlfriend's door like holding Hal Jordan and was just like. And shooting green magic everywhere, and was just like, hey, Diva, sorry we haven't talked in years. I got some crazy shit to tell you. And so issue 8 is we flash back in time and kind of watch her, like, her first period of time as, like, a cop, which is very interesting, because that's, like, it's simultaneously very weird because like she's like this black woman cop who then has to leave being a cop because her department is like really explicitly like racist and doing like under the table like corrupt shit pretty openly. It's like also going through her time as kind of like coming to understand herself as a bisexual lesbian.
Okay. That's this issue or last issue?
This issue.
Okay, cool.
There's a whole bit about how she fumbles Renee Montoya. I wouldn't have done that. I'm built different. But yeah, it's really good. I really liked this issue a lot. There's some really solid character work. I really like. I don't know, like what is his fucking name? Lindsay. It's like John Oy Lindsay. He's been an artist that I wasn't sure about at first. But I've grown to like his work more and more on the series as it's gone on, and in a way that's like kind of hard to talk about, and like that I'm still kind of figuring out how to talk about, I guess. Like very low detail backgrounds, like there's kind of a looseness to his line.
This blurring thing he's doing on this page is interesting. I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's probably how I felt about his art for a lot of it. Is I was like, this is interesting. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm growing increasingly interested in what he's doing, and at least it feels different than a lot of Green Lantern comics. Like, it doesn't, like, fucking, again, no shade to Absolute Batman, but they're bringing Jock back, and, like, Jock's gonna be amazing, but I know what a Jock Batman comic looks like. I've read a lot of very good Jock Batman comics. I don't know what a Janoy Lindsay Green Lantern looks like. There was some fun stuff in a couple issues ago where he was, like, the panels themselves were getting bisected to show like characters getting cut up, and so like the panel itself would get cut in the same way that the character got cut,
like old school like manga, samurai manga technique kind of
stuff.
Yeah,
exactly, like old school samurai manga technique. And I was like, oh, okay, there's some gas here.
Okay,
there's some interesting things. But mainly this is just like a small character piece about Joe Mullen fumbling baddies and then not fumbling baddies and getting a girlfriend, but then also kind of fumbling that.
Kind of classic superhero stuff, honestly.
Yeah. But it's just nice to see it with like lesbians, and nice to see like a lesbian relationship. Like Ewing is obviously not a lesbian. He's just some fucking white British guy. But like it feels nice to read something that doesn't like that feels simultaneously like just like a good character writing with lesbians. It's not trying to be like a capital L lesbian story. It's just like this woman's just a lesbian. It's good character writing. I don't have much more to say about it than that.
I mean, he's a good writer, you know?
Yeah, he's a really good writer.
He has a lot of range in his voice, too. Like, he does all the, like, new history of the Marvel Universe stuff. I mean, my favorite thing by him is the 2021 Defenders run with,
friend of the pod, Javier Rodriguez.
I can't believe we just had our first friend of the pod. Yeah. If you haven't read that, that's really good. I know you've read it, or I think you have.
I actually haven't read that one. I have it on my shelf.
It's a quick read. It's Ewing likes to do stories that are kind of structured around either like philosophical or kind of magical concepts. And the Defenders, his run on Defenders, the concept is like, rather than being like a street level superhero team, it's like fate, like the universal entity of fate in the Marvel universe pulls these like universal tarot cards when the universe is in need, and like each tarot card is a superhero, and they get like drawn into this thing, and Rodriguez's art is incredible in it because he's so weird and so colorful and so surreal. Big fan of that, and Al Ewing was on that. Also, like a good character piece too. It's very like, I feel like the closest thing I might compare it to is like New Gods almost, because it's like each character is so tied to this kind of metaphysical theme, which is really fun, and the art really matches the scale of the story.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, I think we should save Assorted Crisis Events for the end, just because I feel like you're probably most excited to talk about it.
Oh my god, yeah.
Let's talk about Batman number 3,
yeah,
which we're also really excited to talk about, and we've both read, and I loved it. I loved it. I'm so excited about Fraction's run.
Yeah.
Issues 1 and 2 were incredible. I think issue 3 is not quite as good as the first 2 issues, but that's because I think we're finally starting to get into like the meat of the story, and it doesn't have the like 1-2 punch that the first 2 issues have to really hook you in. But the art is incredible. The Jorge Jimenez art is amazing. I really like Batman is like flowy in this comic, in a similar way to how he is in Absolute Batman. Like, his cape isn't like a weapon the way it is in Absolute Batman, but it's like, it's very kind of Spawn-esque, where it's like Batman looks really cool. He's not just some guy.
Yeah.
And I like the setup, too, where you've got the caveman guy. What's his name?
Vandal Savage.
Vandal Savage, thank you. You got Vandal Savage as the head of the Gotham Police, framing Batman. And as we've established, I like any superhero comic where the cops are the bad guys. I think Batman is like normally pretty good at this, just because the cops are at the very least always corrupt, if not just straight up like brutal and evil. And then he's doing the thing that I think always marks the beginning of a really good Batman run, which is the first few issues are very much not about the fighting, although when there is fighting, it's like exciting and dynamic, but it's setting up this broader overarching mystery for the first arc. And you see that in like Batman Eternal, you see it in New 52 Batman with like Court of Owls. Any good Batman run will start with sort of your classic Batman stuff with like an underlying like what's going on, sort of eerie, spooky, interesting mystery for you to get engaged with. And in this case, it's these weird experiments going on in Arkham, and we won't get too much into that because you should just read the comic because it's really, really good. But Edward Nygma appears in it. You were a fan of how he's written.
Yeah, I think so. The thing about the Riddler is like, I like the Riddler a lot, and I like the Riddler a lot, but he is just like a guy usually. Like like, oh man, that's crazy. He's mentally ill because he just really likes riddles. It's like he just has a autistic hyperfixation. It's not that interesting or serious. But here he's like actually compulsive. Like him telling riddles is like a vicious compulsion.
Yeah, he can't stop. And he's begging Batman to stop him somehow. And that's the other thing too, is it really feels like in Fraction's run, Batman is helping people.
Yeah.
And that, call me crazy, but I need my superheroes to be helping people.
Yeah.
You know? Love Scott Snyder's New 52 run, but like he doesn't, there's not a ton of compassion in Batman in a lot of that run. Whereas you take like Grant Morrison's run on like Batman and Robin, and like there's a lot of care that's going into the character of Batman, and it's like goofy and sort of huge and ambitious conceptually and plot wise, but there's also like a lot of kind of, Batman has a lot of kindness to him, and there's a lot of that in here, from him helping the Riddler in this issue to like the first couple issues, being so focused on the Bat family, which, thank you, oh my gosh, all I want is the Bat family. You know, I want Robin in the new Batman movie that's coming out. I demand it. If he's not in it, I'm not going to say I won't see it, because I will go watch it. But I will be angry.
They said he's going to be in it. We can guess which one it's going to be, though. It's not going to be Damian as much as Damian's my boy and my favorite Robin.
It shouldn't be Damian.
It shouldn't be Damian.
There's no setup for Damian.
No. Damian has to be his own kind of thing. It's probably going to either be... I mean, Dick Grayson's the obvious answer, because it's always Dick. It's always Dick Grayson, and I would like to see what a Dick Grayson meeting Robert Pattinson.
Please. Oh, please.
If anyone's going to give us a Nightwing movie, it is going to be James Gunn as being at the head of DC. Like that motherfucker. Like, you can like him or not. I like him, but you can like him or not. But I'm a fan too. But you can't say that like the motherfucker doesn't care. Like fundamentally about the DC universe as like a object, like as a thing. Like he actually cares about these characters, and he cares about not just like, here's the most marketable corners. He's like, I want to do a Creature Commandos show. Like, that's real freak move. Respect.
He knows the material really deeply. That's the other thing about that Matt Reeves Batman movie. Like, I listened to an interview recently, and Reeves read like almost all of Batman.
Just all of it?
Yeah, just like he read a huge percentage of it. And then you listen to like Christopher Nolan talk about the Dark Knight series, or you listen to, God forbid, Zack Snyder talk about it, and they've read like The Long Halloween, Killing Joke, and
Dark Knight.
And it shows, you know, those are like baby's first Batman books, and they're great stories. They're really interesting, incredibly cartooned, but also like, you're not going to get much range out of Batman from those stories. And we were talking about this briefly, but I'm really glad that Fraction's Batman here is not Matt Reeves' Batman on a comics page. It's very much consistent with the Zdarsky run. Like, there's a lot of repercussions from the Zdarsky run in the plot and the characterization that Fraction does not just abandon, which I really appreciate. Because that would have been really jarring. Like, so much happens that affects and changes those characters in that previous run. I would have been weirded out if Fraction had just scrapped that. And I think they have like a lot of kind of writing inclinations in common that make them both really good writers. So I feel like Fraction was a really good person to follow up Zdarsky's run, and he's already far surpassed, I think, anything that Zdarsky did on his run of Batman. No hate to that run. I actually really liked that run, but I think Fraction's like taking Batman a little bit more back to the basics in a way that Zdarsky set up really well, but maybe like either didn't want to or wasn't able to carry out. Just because his run was pretty long, and he probably had other stuff he wanted to do, you know? And I would say, in terms of like long Zdarsky comics runs, if you're choosing between like Batman and something else, read his Daredevil.
That's what I heard.
The Zdarsky Chiquetto Daredevil, really, really great. And Chiquetto, friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the pod.
Yeah, friend of the pod.
I feel like if we just keep calling artists friend of the pod, eventually one of them will actually be a friend of the pod. And I think we're just trainifesting this.
Well, Ben Passmore listened to the show.
Fuck yeah.
And liked it. But yeah, that's Batman number 3. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, just to kind of briefly reiterate what you said, like, I really like compassionate Batman, this Batman who is just like more than anything like aiming to help like his villains or whatever. That's a Batman I want to read. Like, again, no shade to Absolute Batman. It's a series that I do like, but Absolute Batman doesn't give a single fuck about anybody around him that isn't like his like gang of friends. Let me rephrase. Yeah, like,
he cares about his friends, but
there's not
his villains. There's not a lot of compassion going towards his villains at all,
and that works for that series.
And
like,
it works for the villains. Too.
It works for
the villains. They're not the villains in Absolute Batman so far are not kind of based in mental illness. They're based in sort of like psychopathy and real evil and cruelty in a way that the villains in normal Batman just kind of aren't. No.
Okay. Yeah, just to kind of talk about, briefly, yeah, this is my favorite kind of Batman to read, the, like, intensely compassionate Batman. I will take that any day. And anytime a writer is doing, like, deeply compassionate Batman and focusing on, like, the Bat family as an actual family, I'm locked the fuck in.
Yeah.
I'm super hyped. And then, and I'm so excited to see Jimenez back on art, because that was always the most interesting part of the Zdarsky run for me, was when Jimenez was on art. I was like, no shade to Mike Hawthorne, but I don't fucking care. Or, you know, whoever, like, fill-in artist was on Batman, I didn't fucking care. But then, like, when Jimenez is here, his art is so dynamic and so beautiful, like, really good sense of pace and action. Like, I actually want to read the fight scenes because they're incredibly well choreographed and incredibly clear. Like, splash pages feel meaningful. Like, splash pages get thrown into Cape Comics all the time, and it's like, this didn't need to be a full page. This was a nothing image. Like, yeah. this is a poster. Whereas, like, in the Jimenez Batman, him, like, turning off the invisibility of his stealth suit, I'm like, oh, there's weight to that.
There's a reveal.
There's a reveal. There's gravity. The blood on Nigma's face feels more meaningful blown up. Like, coming out of his nose feels more meaningful. The angle of, like, Batman looking down at him in a kind of menacing way, but then flipping the script there later it's good stuff. It's good fucking superhero comics. Like, I think this could be a generational run. There's a very real possibility, like, early to call it, but this could be a generational run. I would like to see that.
Nice. Awesome. I'm going to talk about a couple things that I don't think you've read, and then we'll finish off with Assorted Crisis Events, number 6, which
Excellent.
Long awaited. The first thing I just want to briefly touch on is the new Amazing Spider-Man. I have mixed feelings about this. I really like Kelly, honestly. I think Kelly's a great career. I think right now Peter Parker's in space, and I'm not a huge fan of Spider-Man Goes to Space comics, but I think it's being done pretty well. The thing that's giving me mixed reviews for this is it seems like the Kelly run right now is alternating between the Spider-Man in Space comic, which is engaging and compelling on one issue, and then it'll go to the next issue and it'll be like Ben Reilly and Norman Osborn doing, like, pretending to be Spider-Man in New York, so that things on Earth can try to stay normal, and it's just not compelling and it's not interesting. And Marvel's been pushing Ben Reilly for a while, and I don't know why, because I don't know anyone who's interested in Ben Reilly. He's not an interesting character. There's so much weird backstory that happened in the last few runs that were just awful, that were engaged with Ben Reilly and Norman Osborn and all this Clone Saga stuff that's, like, not interesting at all.
Didn't he become, like, Chasm or some shit?
Yeah, he became Chasm. There's some anti-Venom stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Interminable.
But the Peter Parker parts are really interesting, and the art's really, really pretty solid. from, I guess, issue 15, which just came out, is Emilio Liso, with Pepe Larraz doing the main covers. And this sees, I guess you could call it was it Imperial? That's the thing
Imperial?
that just ended. Yeah, you could call it an Imperial tie-in, because it's like Spider-Man gets shot out into space, basically, and he, through a series of, like, honestly pretty fun, interesting sci-fi concepts, he gets roped into this group of people who are getting experimented on by this evil scientist guy, and as they kind of traverse the universe trying to return these people home, they are encountering all sorts of sort of chaos from the fallout of Imperial, which saw, like, the Marvel version of the Galactic Federation or whatever fall. And so Spider-Man is trying to kind of, like, do good and stuff, and it's like Spider-Man and Rocket Raccoon and a few other people, and like a cute baby symbiote as like part of their crew. And I don't like symbiotes. I think they're bad story devices, but in this case it's actually really fun because it's like a totally different thing from Venom. And not in this issue, but in 2 issues ago, which was the last space-based issue, you get Spider-Man facing off with a member of Thanos' Black Order and just, like, totally KOing him, and it was pretty badass. Very cool moment. And then it looks like Kelly's gonna get into some, like, actually really fun, interesting sci-fi concepts, which I really don't feel like we've seen from Spider-Man in a while, and it feels like he's really taking advantage of the space aspect of this to really write some interesting concepts, and not just kind of a sort of Star Wars-esque, like, we're flying through space fighting people kind of deal, but, like, consciousness bending, interesting sort of speculative ideas, which is really fun. And the art really does look great in this issue. You can read it pretty much standalone. I would say if you wanted to hop in on, like, issue 12 or 13 and just read the little paragraph intro at the beginning, and it'll kind of sum up everything you need to know. That's Spider-Man 15. I think we've got the whole run so far still in the store. What's next that I wanted to talk about? Oh, okay, yeah. Next thing.
Yeah.
Are you reading ASM at all, or no?
I'm not. I'm not a Spider-Man reader. I am kind of loosely interested because I think Kelly is an interesting writer. I think he's a good fit for what Spider-Man is doing. I like Larraz. I like Larraz a lot. So that's a huge sell for me. And, like, I've been interested in seeing, like, Peter interacting with Rocket Raccoon and with I forget what they're called. It's not the technophage, but it's like the weird, like, techno aliens that, like, fucking New Mutants Doug Ramsey has.
Yeah.
And that guy being, like, really wrapped up in this, or that race being really wrapped up in this. I'm interested in that. I'm just not a huge Spider-Man reader, which is weird. Spider-Man's like the Flash for me, where it's like, I like this character a ton in theory, and I like the extended universe, and I like all these fun little relationships. I just haven't found a run that I've really, like, loved yet. And I feel similarly with the Flash, where it's like, I really like what the Flash is doing. I really like what Spider-Man's doing. I've just never quite, for whatever reason, landed on those characters. But this looks good. Like,
I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man's one of my favorites, for sure.
Honestly, your love for Spider-Man makes me want to read engage with Spider-Man in a way that I usually don't.
To read ASM.
Besides the Ultimate. Ultimate's the one that I, like, actually was, like, the only Spider-Man comic that I've, like, properly, like, grabbed and been like, I'm sitting down and reading this.
I honestly think starting with Ultimate Spider-Man is probably, like, a good way to get you hooked on Spider-Man. Because it's, like, pretty true to a lot of the characters, and then, like, you could hop onto any ASM, kind of any great ASM line, or just the original Ultimate Spider-Man line, and probably have a good time. What I'm honestly going to do is I'll probably skim all of the Ben Reilly stuff and then actually engage in the space stuff, because that's what's actually fun.
Yeah, I couldn't give a fuck about Ben Reilly. He's not real to me.
Yeah, I was disappointed to see that that the alternating storyline thing is what they're doing, but my hope is maybe as people fail to react positively to the Ben Reilly stuff, the focus will remain on Peter Parker, just because I don't really know what they're doing right now with Ben Reilly. And the stuff set in New York is really reliant on you having read the previous runs, which the stuff in space just is not at all.
Yeah. The Norman Osborn being Spider-Man on Earth makes sense to me, at least if we're talking about in continuity with the previous run, because I did flip through the previous run when it was coming out. And so, like, I try to keep loosely abridged of what's vaguely going on. And so, like, Norman Osborn continuing that arc makes sense to me. Ben Reilly being there feels like Marvel editorial put a gun to Joe Kelly's head and is like, put Ben Reilly in there because there's somebody with a Ben Reilly fetish in editorial.
Well, Ben
and they
Reilly
must
was
stopped.
in the last run. He was Spider-Man in the last run too. Like, canonically, it makes sense. It's just not very compelling.
Yeah, I just think someone in editorial broadly is like way into Ben Reilly, and they keep putting a gun to or to writers' heads and being like, please put Ben Reilly in here.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sorry, you can't make me care about Ben Reilly. Like, there's a lot of characters that I'm not super interested in that you can make me care about. Tim Drake is one of them. Where, like, I found some writers who make me really, really like Tim Drake. You can't make me give a single shit about Ben Reilly. Like, I'm sorry, Ben Reilly, you'll never be it.
Yeah, I agree. It's just not very interesting. I mean, they've tried to run... I think for a while there was like a Ben Reilly specific title too, and it's just not very interesting stuff.
No, there was for a while, yeah. Because every Batman universe character has to have a fucking... It's like Batman, where like every character that exists in this universe has to have their own book. There was at one point a gold, a red, and a green goblin book.
Yeah, it's just there's too much going on. That's one of the reasons I really like ASM, though, is, like, ASM has always been something where there are a lot of offshoots, but you can choose to read something. You can choose to just read ASM and be totally happy.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, X-Men or something, it really does start to feel like I have to be reading at least 5 titles to really know what's going on. It's like, I can just read ASM, or you can just pick up Miles Morales, and you can have a good time and get a full story.
Yeah. Which I do respect.
So moving on from ASM and hopping back to DC, I'm gonna talk a little bit about one of my sleeper faves, which is Gotham Academy First Year, from Carl Kerschel and Betty Cloonan. This book I read originally because Walter liked the first issue, and the first issue was so good and so compelling, and like really hooked me, and I think it's like honestly one of the best things I've read from DC in the last few months, which sounds crazy because it's kind of, I guess ostensibly it's geared towards kids or teens, but it's got a really kind of mature. It's got a lot of really mature, really complex character writing and interiority going on, and it's, I think, engaging with its characters with a lot of respect, which is something that really reads through in the book, and you get. It follows a teen girl who's part of Gotham Academy after her mother, who has like fire powers and is kind of mentally ill, maybe schizophrenic or something, we don't really know. After she has sort of a breakdown at her home with her daughter and sets her home on fire, Batman ostensibly saves her, but then brings her mother, Sybil Silverlock as the mom, and then, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting. Olivia Silverlock, I think, is the daughter's name. Brings the daughter to Gotham Academy as Bruce Wayne and brings her mom to Arkham Asylum. And you get to see what the aftermath of Batman, quote unquote, saving you is for someone, and it's like, Bruce Wayne is doing his best, it seems like, to help this girl who is now sort of effectively separated and almost kind of orphaned from her mother, by bringing her to Gotham Academy. And it's good, I think, to see, as we were talking about, a characterization of Bruce Wayne and Batman as someone that helps people, but you also get to see how awful it is to watch Batman literally take your mother away from you. Yeah. Like for Olivia, sorry, not Olivia, it's Olive. Olive. So close. you get to see how traumatizing that is for someone. And you get further characterization of these Batman villains as people who are sick, as people who are struggling. And it seems like the antagonist in this is going to be Professor Crane / Scarecrow.
My boy.
Which is really fun, and I think this is a really good book for that, because you get this kind of dual storyline going where you have Olive in this sort of, not teen drama, I actually wouldn't characterize it like that at all, but kind of character drama taking place in Gotham Academy, which has this like very gothic setting, but is not particularly creepy or intense or grim. And then you've got this undercurrent of sort of sadness and anxiety as Olive thinks about her mother in Arkham Asylum, and she goes to visit her, and she starts to develop some form of relationship with Crane. And obviously, like, what we know about Crane is that he is really evil, but Crane tells her that he has this medicine he's been developing that's going to help all these people, and we don't really know whether or not he wants to help these people, because we're not really told. We're not privy to that information at all. There's no kind of Crane monologuing about what his evil plan is, and so we're kind of taken along for this ride, and it's interesting to have these villains kind of characterized as people that might not just want to hurt someone, but there's definitely some underlying evil going on with Crane, and you can also really see how messed up Arkham Asylum is too. Yeah, because it's not a good place, and we know that because it's constantly being taken over by these villains, and the villains keep coming back. So obviously, it's not a very good asylum. And it's just really beautifully written. The art's wonderful. I think, honestly, if you're a grown-up, you can read it. If you're a teenager, you can read it and really enjoy it. It's just great comics. There's nothing formally really experimental happening. I'm just a fan, you know? It makes me happy. It's not drivel either. I'm enjoying it a lot, and I don't know where it's going either, which is making me happy.
There's a comic I want to pass your way at some point called Batman Arkham City Order of the World. Okay. I think you would fuck with so heavy. I'll find it later, but like, yeah, we won't talk about it much. Just the basic. I'm just gonna tell you the basic premise. But the basic premise of this thing is that, like, in the mainline Batman title, Joker blows up Arkham and a bunch of people get out. But it's basically about this therapist trying to track down her patients and being like, fuck, like, I need to get to them before the police do, because the police will just brutalize them. Yeah. And I need to get to, because most of these people who got out, with the exception of, like, Professor Pig, are, like, largely harmless.
Yeah, they're just sick people.
Yeah. Or, like, they are maybe harmful, but they're not doing anything on purpose. Yeah. Like, they're not trying to hurt people. Like, Dr. Phosphorus has a really interesting bit where he just, like, wants to be normal, so him and this other, like, vampire lady, like, move into an apartment, and they just start getting everybody around them really sick with radiation poisoning, but they don't mean to be doing that. They're just, like, trying... Live. They just want to live and be normal, but everyone is, like... There's, like, a Solomon Grundy bit that's, like, a couple pages long that is, like, made me care about Solomon Grundy as a person in a way that, or like think about him in like an interesting way. Anyway, great ass book. I will find it for you. It's Dan Waters and Danny. It fucking rips.
That's what I really liked about was it issue 1 of the Fraction Batman where he, like, Killer Croc gets out and he's just really sad and he's sick, and one of the psychiatrists calls to Batman and is like, can you help him and not punch him? And it's really wonderfully written. Another shout out for Fraction's Batman. Big fan. Alright, I just want to say a quick thing about Adventure Time issue number 7, which is the newest one that came out today. Everything that we've talked about came out today. Issue 7, the current run, just the current series, is from Nick Wynn and Sean Lee, maybe, and then mainly, and then there's a little mini comic at the end by Derek Ballard. All of it is great. Adventure Time comics have always been weird and funky and strange, and they've always been like a great place for people to just make comics the way that they want to make them, in much the same way that the show was that for animators and storytellers. If you're a kid, or if you're a fan of the comics, or the show, I would really pick these up. They're really fun. If you were a reader of the comics in the past, this is very much in line with those. You'll find kind of a continuation of tone and style from the older comics. and I've always been a fan of Adventure Time, the comics and the show. Really enjoying these. I don't have much to say right now. I'm going to review this new issue in Fan-Based Press this week, so you can find more of my thoughts there if you're curious, but I would totally pick this up if this is your vibe. Definitely go for it. And then I just got the new issue of Comics Blogger, which is like a mini zine being put out right now. Issue 14, it's got a Caroline Cash cover and a Caroline Cash interview in it. Big fan, super excited to read it. Very in line with kind of bubble zine, independent comics journalism, which we need more of. Mm-hmm. So shout out to Comics Blogger. And then back to you, Persephone. What's up with Dennis Camp right now?
So before we get to Assorted Crisis Events, I would just like to quickly shout out Dog Tangle by Max Huffman and Turn Loose Our Death Rays and Kill Them All, the complete works of Fletcher Hanks. I was going to at least review one of these for the cast this week, but I was going through a book without any pictures in it. Remarkable stuff happening. Vajra Chandrasekhara's Rake's Fall, which this is not a prose podcast, we won't talk about it, but it's a banger book, so I just didn't get around to reading Dog Tangle and Turn Loose Our Death Rays like I wanted to. But I will probably be talking about at least one of those on the cast next week, because I think it's a bit of a slower week, so look forward to that. A release from Fantagraphics and...
Both
Fantagraphics,
yeah.
Never mind. I thought Turn Loose might have been Pantheon, but it wasn't.
Both would make very good presents as well. Dog Tangle is like a little manageable hardcover, and then Turn Loose is like this very big, impressive paperback.
Yeah, collecting all of outsider artist Fletcher Hanks' weird like superhero and pulp work from the 40s, I'm curious what that means. I'm curious to see it. But anyway, I didn't read that, so we'll talk about it next time. What I did read was Dennis Camp and Zawadzki, sorry, my fucking dyslexia got me really bad there. Camp, Zawadzki, Belair, Otsmain, El Heu, and Muller's Assorted Crisis Events. Number 6, the return of Assorted Crisis after a little bit of a hiatus. This book ruined my fucking day, and I mean that affectionately. I went out to go have a smoke at work, and I was like, I'm gonna crack open the new issue, and I came back, and apparently I looked haunted. Yeah, it's a book very clearly about dementia and Alzheimer's. Like, it is a book very clearly, like, talking about how devastating it is to watch a loved one go through that, and to kind of, like, the peaks and valleys of where they're at mentally and emotionally, and a lot of things that they're kind of unable to control, and even a level of cruelty that sometimes comes out during. So this book, to kind of clarify more specifically what this issue is it's a little character piece about this woman and her husband, and the husband has, I forget what exactly it's called, but it's like spatio-temporal displacement. He is at random, like, the man that she loved with just, a little bit of, years lost, give or take a couple years, forgetting, who the president is, or he's a little boy or an old man, and he just rapidly cycles between this every day. And so it's just kind of a little story about her trying to raise her husband as a child, and also raise her husband as her own, and raise her husband as an old man, like, as she would, like, deal with her father, like, who is, like, gets terrified and lost in the house, and the house becomes infinite, and he shits himself, and she has to clean him up.
Yeah.
Her being in support groups. There's what kind of sets this book apart. Well, there's a few different things that set this book apart. One is just the kind of, like, formalistic play. Like, there's pieces of this book that are, like, framed as, like, here's a brochure about this, like, spatiotemporal displacement disorder. Here's like this Clue-esque board game to kind of show how time operates for this man, how the same piece of information is given to this man, and how he reacts in very different points in his, like, life, because he's just rapidly cycling through them.
And that's something you'll get in pretty much any issue of Assorted Crisis Events. We've got issues 1 through 5 on the shelf already, which brings you to issue 6, which is the newest one.
Yeah.
Pretty much any issue, you're going to get some really interesting formal experimentation, whether that's, like, a character who's experiencing awful time loops, literally moving through a loop on the page, to sort of transformations of things between time, as someone experiences trauma and memory, as like a playground toy becomes a crocodile eating someone. And it's all super interesting and very Dennis Camp-esque. It really suits him. I think we have the first trade here.
We have the first trade here. We have just one volume of it left because I keep selling it. So come in and get it so that we can buy more of it and I can sell more of it to you.
And we have all the issues, and the first issue kind of gives you the world building exposition, but basically it's like space and time are falling apart and weird sci-fi things are happening to people, and every issue follows a separate storyline. There's like not really a through line. There is, but there isn't really. So if you picked up like issue 3, you would have a wonderful full meal of story.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you have to be like fully caught up on, or that you have to have read all of in order to enjoy issue number 6. You just have to kind of know that weird stuff is happening in time.
Yeah, and as Tate was kind of saying, like every issue, even though it is a different use of like playing with time and space, as long as you just are able to roll with like, here's how time and space specifically is fucky this issue, you can jump in anywhere. And the book does a pretty good job of just kind of giving you the exact situation and rules of whatever issue is happening very quickly, very directly, and very easily. It is not a time book that is like difficult to parse.
Yeah, there's paradoxes, and that's the point. And it's all really weird, and it all makes sense, and it never gets lost in itself. It never disappears its own butthole.
Exactly. These are all fundamentally very human stories at the end of the day. Like the time stuff is not what's important. It is how people react to that time stuff. And that's kind of the other thing that makes this series so special, is like both in the macro and the micro, and I'm going to talk about a micro detail in this one in a second, is how much care Camp and Zawadzki and everyone give to like the people fundamentally at the core of these stories.
It's so emotional.
Yeah.
Some of it's so painful. All of it's really painful, actually. There's no happy stories in any of the issues so far.
No.
There's nothing that you come away with feeling good.
Yeah, I will say this issue ends happy in a way that the others don't.
Okay.
Because you just can't have ended this story in a dark way and it not have just been... Because the rest of the issue is so fucking...
sad.
It's so fucking sad that I don't even know if I'd say it's like necessarily a happy end. It's just not a like bleak...
It's not devastating.
It's not devastating. It's the first ending that's like there's something sweet about it.
Okay.
But I think you just kind of have to have that, given otherwise I would have wanted to die having finished it.
So you said you wanted to look at it in the micro level. What micro are you talking about?
There's a little bit in here, and it's like such a brief moment, but like her husband becomes a little boy for a period of time, and there's a whole... This is spoilers, yeah. There's a whole bit in here where, like, yeah, her husband becomes a little boy, and he falls in love with a little girl across the street in a way that, like, little kids do. It's, like, sexless, it's inoffensive. The dad becomes really uncomfortable. The dad of the little girl becomes really uncomfortable, and he's like, that's a grown-ass man. I'm going to call the police. And it's like, he is, but not in this moment. Like, in this moment, he is just a little kid. And then later she's going to this, like, you know, group of people who, like, are experiencing similar things with their loved ones. And she's like, I was jealous of a little girl. And how fucking weird and uncomfortable that was to be like. And it's just, like, such a small and human and sad and true thing. Like, I can imagine being... everybody in this scenario, and everybody reacting in this way feels incredibly realistic and incredibly normal, and how devastating it is for her to be like, yeah, I'm jealous of this little girl who is in no way going to have anything with my husband, but
it's still, you're still feeling a real feeling.
Yeah, especially when you don't have that love when sometimes you're being screamed at in the middle of the night and called slurs, or you have to bathe your husband like he's 6.
Yeah.
It's gutting. Yeah. Hurt my fucking feelings.
Well, we all love Dennis Camp here. We talk about him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's some of the best art in any comic on the shelf right now in Assorted Crisis Events.
Yeah.
Definitely come pick that up. I think that's our show.
I think that's our show.
Yeah. Perl should be back next week unless the video game eats her alive, a la regular show. Thanks for tuning in. This is Absolute Ultimate Escapist Comics Podcast. I'm Tate. This is Persephone.
Hi.
Go ahead and listen to our older episodes, our back issues, if you will. 3.2 I'm still editing, but that'll probably come out quickly after I post this one. Thanks for tuning in. We love you all. Bye.
Bye. You'll get a song next week.